officials of Women in Management, Consul General for Sri Lanka, Mr. ULM Jawad, heads of associations who have helped in organizing this event, distinguished visitors from Sri Lanka, distinguished guests, Ayubowan, Vanakkam, good evening to each and every one of you. It is indeed a pleasure for me to do that long 5-hour trip from Ottawa to be with you all this evening on a very important occasion. Today we meet on the occasion of Women in Management Awards 2018 being held in Toronto. Women's rights is relatively new. It basically started off after the end of the Second World War, gathering momentum as the years roll by. Yet the role of women is, as the old saying goes, old as the hills. Every major religion emphasizes the important role that women have to play in society. It is therefore very paradoxical to see that women have had to put up a fight, if I may use that word, to gain recognition, to fight for their right and for their due place. Your organization, Women in Management, comes from a country in which our women are beginning to play a vital role in society. Sri Lanka, of course, has been known the world over for having produced the world's first woman prime minister way back over 55 years ago, when the late Sirimao Bandaranaike assumed office as prime minister in 1960. And as you all know, once again, she was followed many years later by Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, who was elected as our first executive president in 1994. Sri Lankan women got their right to vote in 1931, along with the menfolk. This was much before many of the women in other countries, including countries in the democratic world, got that right. The country's constitution offers a range of protection for women's rights. It provides an impetus to realize women's right to equality. Sri Lanka ratified the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women in 1981, and the subject of women's affairs was given cabinet rank in the early 80s. Since 2000, female students have begun to comprise 60% of the undergraduate population in our universities. And this has begun to show with an increased presence of women in the public service. For example, in the foreign service to which I belong, nearly 80% in the last intake have been women. It goes across the board and is reflected in the private sector as well. Today, there is hardly a profession in which women are not present, but there is always room for improvement. The room at the top is a bit crowded by men. For instance, as I read this morning, as I was putting my thoughts together as to what I was to say this evening, I read that only 5% of CEOs in Fortune 500 companies happen to be women. The situation is even more grave when it comes to women at the lower end of Fortune 500 companies. I'm referring to executives. Only 15% of them are women. It is indeed very relevant that women in management had decided to hold this event for the first time outside Sri Lanka in this beautiful country of Canada. I say this for many reasons. Canada has been in the forefront of women's emancipation and empowerment for a considerable number of years. It was among the first of the countries in the world to highlight feminism. Such advocacy today remains part of federal and provincial policy and is articulated very regularly, as one might read in the newspapers, by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, no less. Indeed, political leadership and support is crucial for issues such as women's rights to gain currency and, in the ultimate analysis, become part of the global agenda. I must therefore congratulate women in management not only for the 7 years it has been in existence and in the forefront of promoting women to their due place, but also for organizing today's event that recognizes the contribution made by Canadian women of Sri Lankan origin. It indeed adds a vital link to this vibrant relationship that we have, that Sri Lanka has with Canada. May I take this opportunity to congratulate the recipients of today's awards. I wish that today's recognition of your achievements will spur you to greater heights. I hope you will be able to travel down to Sri Lanka and share your success story with our women over there. I feel particularly proud that your achievements are being recognized by a Sri Lankan organization, because each one of you has Sri Lankan roots, as all of us are proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for that inspiring speech. No event can be successful without the people who are committed to support these kinds of causes. We thank all the sponsors for their support. The sponsors are Cinnamon Life, who is the principal sponsor, Singer Sri Lanka, Jetwing Group, International Trade Center, and it was supported in Canada by the Canada-Sri Lanka Association. We thank them all for their support today.
இலங்கையின் தூதரக உயர் ஆணையர் திரு அஹ்மத் அஃப்லல் ஜவாத் அவர்களுக்கு எங்கள் நன்றிகள். இந்த விழாவுக்கு ஆதரவு அளித்த அனைவருக்கும் எங்கள் நன்றிகள். பிரதான ஆதரவாளர் சினமன் லைஃப், மற்ற ஆதரவாளர்கள் சிங்கர் ஸ்ரீலங்கா, இன்டர்நேஷ்னல் ட்ரேட் மற்றும் ஜெட்விங் குரூப். கனடாவில் ஆதரவு அளித்தது கனடா ஸ்ரீலங்கா அசோசியேஷன்.
I now bring your attention to a video from the chief sponsor, Cinnamon Life.